Those are pepper seeds. I just get so excited. I love seed starting. It is literally one of my favorite things. Hi friends, welcome back to the Faithful Farmstead. If seed starting is something that you are wanting to learn, maybe it feels intimidating, well, you are in the right place. Let's get started. First up, I'll kind of show you what I have out. So I have my tray here, which I talked about in a previous garden talk video, just things that I like to have for seed starting. So I have these little cups here. These are from BOOTSTRAP Farmer. And then I have a tray that they all go into, and then a bottom watering tray. And in recent years, I have used all kinds of different kinds of soil. I personally do not use seed starting mix. You have to pot up then, like repot them, for them to get enough of nutrients to get them to the point where you're planting them in your garden. So I have always used potting soil mix, because potting soil mix already has all the nutrients in it to carry it all the way until you're ready to plant it out into the garden. I personally have had the best success with Happy Frog. I'm not affiliated with them by any means. I don't get paid to promote them. I'm just letting you know because I know that is helpful in starting seeds when you really just want to know, like, okay, what should I buy and where should I start? It kind of gives you a baseline. So first step is we're just going to fill all of these little cups here with some soil. We have had some really cold temps the last couple weeks, so I brought my potting soil mix into the house. That way it would not freeze. You don't want cold, frozen soil. And I always just kind of fluff it up to make sure there's not any like big clumps. And when I'm putting it into the cup, I'm just trying, if there's any big pieces of bark and stuff, this bag looks amazing. But if there are some big pieces of bark, I will pull them out. So you got like a nice little fluffy seed mix there. I'm not tapping it down or anything like that right now. We're just reaching in here. I kind of like maybe move my fingers around so it kind of gets in there, and then just level it off. I'm not pushing that soil down. You don't want your plants to be, you don't want your soil to really be compacted, because the seedlings are going to have a hard time moving their roots through that when the soil is really compacted down. So it is mid-February for me, and I always aim to start peppers kind of as Valentine's Day is like a baseline, and then always trying to get them started before the 1st of March. Peppers take really long to germinate. And so I will put these back in our room, is where my grow room is for seedlings. And they might not germinate for like 2 weeks. They need humidity, they need heat, and so they can take kind of a long time to germinate. Hence the reason I start them so early, but that gives them a long enough period to germinate, to grow really strong, and then I will plant them out in my garden maybe 1st or 2nd week of May, depending on the temperatures. But peppers really like to be really warm, so I don't plant them out in the garden until the nights are like above 50. I say that, but sometimes I get antsy. I want to plant before that. Anyone else like that? Now, I have these little seed pots and all this stuff that I've bought, but when I first started, I did not want to invest in a bunch of seed starting equipment, because I'm like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if this is something I don't want to do? I don't want to pour all this money into it. So I literally would go to the grocery store and buy a big old pack of solo cups and drill holes in the bottom. We might even have some old B-roll from when I did that. And I would put potting soil into those solo cups, right on the solo cups, rather than having like a plant tag. I would write directly onto the cup and put them into a tray that way. That worked great. I had great success with growing things that way. But I have, over the years now, really love seed starting and grow more and more plants every year. So that is why I've invested in actual seed starting stuff like this, because this stuff will hold up for years and years and years. Some of it I've already had for 4 or 5 years, and it's not cracking at all. It's doing great. So you don't need fancy stuff to start seeds. Don't feel like you have to have this perfect ideal thing to start seeds. Just use what you have. So now we have all of our soil into our pots. I'm gonna take this over to my sink here, and we're just gonna sprinkle it with water, with my watering can. You always want to plant your seeds into moist soil. That just gives them a jump start. You don't wanna plant into dry soil. So we're gonna moisten these and then come back. See, you don't need a greenhouse. I'm doing it in my kitchen. I wanted to do it outside today, but it got freezing cold in Tennessee and winter is back. So we're doing it inside. So once I wet everything, you can kind of see some of the cups maybe could use a little more soil. So I'm just going to top those off really quickly. You do want a full cup of soil. You just don't want it compacted down. So the water kind of fills in those holes and your soil will settle, which is fine. Since I topped that off, I'm gonna take it over and just give it a quick drench again. So the next step is we're gonna get our seeds. You do not want to get these seed packets wet. So I probably should clean up this area here, but you don't want that seed wet until it goes into soil. Soil is in our cups. Now we're gonna make sure that we have some plant tags. These are just really simple tags. I get them off of Amazon. They are color coded if you like colors. They also have white ones. We can leave a link to that in the description below. And then I have my pack of seeds. So in my last video, I talked about how I label this and how I organize for seed starting. So we are doing sweet peppers. This is our count for what we are starting. This gives me a little note to remember too. And I am going to go through and label these first and stick them into the cups. And then I can just get my hands with the seeds and go that way. That way my hands aren't dirty and I'm trying to write a tag and going back and forth. I write all of my tags first, stick them in the cups, and then do seeds. So let's buzz through that. So we're labeling it just like that. Is it gonna focus? There we go. I am putting on what seed company it's from. That's what the BI on there is for botanical interests. That way, when I go to plant this in the garden, if I have any questions, I know which seed packet that was, and I can go back and look at that. Now we are starting 8 of these. Now that all of the tags are done, now I'm going to add my seeds. And this is where I want to talk to y'all about how many seeds to add per pot. This was one that, took me a little trial and error to figure out. My first year, I wanted to put like all the seeds in one pot because I was just scared that nothing was going to germinate. But they do germinate, and then it's even harder to have to clip them because you really only want 1 per pot growing, so that way it gets all the nutrients it needs to grow strong. But there is a little bit with seed dates. So these 2 that I'm planting from Botanical Interest, these were last year's seeds, so they were packed for 2024. I'm not too worried about this germination, especially because I've had really good success with Botanical Interest seeds germinating. So I will put 2 in each pot, hoping that at least 1 will germinate. And as I've said, I've had good success with their seeds. Again, I'm not affiliated with them. I just really like their seeds. This packet is from 2021. And these seeds, I have not had great success with them germinating in years past. And I have a bunch, so I'm just like wanting to clear them out. But I would rather try to get something to germinate rather than just throw it out. So I'm gonna plant these pretty heavily, maybe like 4 or 5 seeds per pot and hope that one germinates. Now, if none of them germinate, I will just take one of the ones that are extra that germinated from another pot, write a new tag, and transplant that into the pot that did not germinate. But give it time. It's gonna take time for your seeds to germinate. You're going to check on them every day and just hope for a little green sprout to pop up. Just give it time. Peppers take way longer than any other vegetables, I feel like, to germinate. So we're gonna start with, what do we have over here? We'll start over on this side. This is the California Wonder from Botanical Interest. This yellow pepper. We're gonna open this up. And seeds are so tiny. The rule of thumb with planting seeds is that you want to plant the seed twice as deep for how big it is. I just turned on my toaster oven. So you want to plant the seed twice as deep of how big the seed is. And pepper seeds, I mean, they aren't super tiny, but they're not super big. So you really don't need to plant them very deep. So those are pepper seeds. I just get so excited. I love seed starting. It is literally one of my favorite things. So I'm going to put 2 of these seeds kind of in like the center of the pot, and I'm just going to cover them up with a little bit of soil. I will get you all closer to show you how I am doing this. But you want them in the center of the pot. It just, 1, it looks prettier, but 2, you don't have it like growing out the side of the pot. It's just growing nicely in the middle. So I'll get you all closer to show you what I'm doing. Again, here are those little pepper seeds. I'm going to take, see how tiny they are? You barely see them, but I'm gonna stick them in the middle there. So you can see them, one's there, one's there. We're kind of in the middle. And you're just gonna cover them with some soil, push them lightly down. Again, you don't wanna like jam them into the soil. You don't wanna compact them down too much. We're just planting them twice as deep. And sometimes it'll stick to your fingers, so you gotta make sure that it's actually getting in there. I have also in past years used a pencil, or the back tip of a marker, which I can show you that. So if you take it and just push it down like that, because then your fingers aren't wet, you're not worrying about that. Okay, so we still have this row here. 1, 2. You have to think about these seeds, and the planting depth is, don't stress about it. I mean, seeds want to grow, but if you push this thing, oh, there it's stuck. If you push this thing like super far down, it's just not going to have the energy to poke through the soil. So there's this, little tiny sprout will sprout from this plant, and it needs enough of energy to get to the top. So you just don't want to bury them super deep. And then you have things like lettuce seeds that prefer to be planted right on the soil surface because they need light to germinate. So like when I do lettuce seeds, I sprinkle them on top because they're so tiny and just kind of push them around in the soil so they touch soil. I'm gonna zip through this, plant these seeds, and then I will show you my seed starting room that is in our room and how I have my grow lights set up there. So stick around for that. Woo! This is where I do a happy dance. Okay, the first official peppers of 2025 are planted. Y'all, this is 32 peppers. Bell peppers, lunchbox peppers, banana peppers. I'm so excited. Okay, so the next step is all the seeds are planted. This is where a bottom watering tray is so nice. I'm gonna put water into this bottom watering tray, and this is gonna keep the soil moist, and the soil will soak up what it needs, because you want your soil to stay moist when you are seed starting. If that little seed is not getting enough of moisture, it will not push through, it won't grow, so you wanna make sure that your soil stays moist, but not soggy. So what I'll do is I put water into the bottom watering tray, and I will let it get empty, maybe like for a day or so, and then I'll put more water in to kind of like keep the soil moist but not soggy wet. And with peppers, so this is the first year I'm trying this. In past years, I have used like baking Pyrex pans, and I will set them on top of my trays to create a little bit of humidity, because peppers do germinate better when they have humidity and warmth. So I have had success peppers germinating without heat mats, without humidity domes. It just has taken longer. But this year I wanted to try this. BOOTSTRAP Farmer had these trays. So what I'm gonna do is stick this on top of here and put this under my grow lights like this. And every couple of days, I'll just spray water on top of the soil here to keep some humidity in here. Now, our bedroom is in the back of the house, and so it gets kind of cold back there. So I will run a little bit of a space heater just to create some warmth in that room for these peppers to germinate and grow strong. That is something I've always done with growing peppers. I've always had a small space heater because they're started so early, like February is still kind of cold, the house still kind of has a chill to it. I like to create that extra warmth for them. Or if you have like a warm spot, maybe, you know, a south facing window or something that gets a lot more heat, that could work too. But I'm gonna put this on top. Let's take this back to the grow lights. I will show you what I have going on there, and then we will chat for a minute about what's to come. Okay, so this light might completely blast out this camera, but this is my setup. Y'all, it's not fancy. It's not a greenhouse. These are just some ferns I found at the store early, and it's too cold to come outside, so they're gonna stay here. But it is just a simple rack. I'll get up close and I'll show you. I'll turn that light off. You don't need anything fancy. I've had these grow lights for years. I don't even think they were labeled as like grow lights on Amazon. We will link them in the description below if you want to check them out. But let me turn this light off. I'll give you kind of an up close. I have 1, 2 lights here, and then the light from the window will also help, but that is where those will sit. And the lights will stay turned on for, I try to give it like 8 hours a day. I turn it on in the morning when we're all done getting ready, so, because this light is really obnoxious when you're in the room. And then I always turn it off like maybe after dinner time. So like 8 hours, and they will stay there until they are ready to plant out. Once these pepper seeds sprout, I will take off this dome so they can get just nice and strong and big. So that is seed starting 101. It is not overcomplicated. Y'all can do it. Try it and see what happens. So we have lots of garden content coming. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.